Hello, this is Mr. Froelich. Today's screencast will be going through station models and how to read them. Now, station models are an efficient way to code lots of weather data in a visual manner. That weather data is collected across the country from thousands of collection stations like the one you see here, which gathers different types of weather data, and then it can be compiled in a computer to create predictions. Now, using both of these things together is how we get our complete weather forecast that you will hear on the news. So a typical station model will look something like this. Now, at first glance, this may seem intimidating, but most students pick up on this skill relatively quickly. It boils down to decoding what each number and symbol means on the diagram. To go through this, we will break down what each symbol means. First, we will start with the wind. Now, wind on a station model is shown by the line that is drawn off of the circle. The direction of that wind is shown by the direction or way that line is pointing. Now, you can think of the circle on a station model as sort of the head of an arrow showing the direction of where that wind is going. Now remember, we always describe winds from where they are coming from, so with the black arrow that I've drawn on the screen, that would be a northeast wind because it's coming from the northeast side of the globe. The speed of that wind is shown by the number of lines drawn at the end of the wind barb. The longer lines represent 10 knots and the shorter lines represent 5 knots. So you just add up the lines, and in this case, the speed of that wind would be 25 knots. Knots is another way of measuring the speed of wind, and to simplify things, you can kind of think of it like miles per hour. The next thing is decoding the symbols for current weather. If there is a symbol shown in between the two numbers on the left side of the station model, it will show you what type of current weather is happening at that station model. The dots represent rain, the little stars represent snow. If you have either of those symbols with sort of that R, that would mean that it is thunder, and the lines that are parallel represent fog. There are hundreds of different symbols that go along with this, and to complete the assignment, use the symbol catalog that I have included on the assignment. Those are the only symbols that I will ask you to use. Lastly, decoding pressure is arguably one of the harder things to do when working with station models. Station models will put the pressure in the top right corner as a 3-digit symbol. Now, decoding that is relatively simple if you can remember the rule. You will either be adding a 9 or a 10 in front of whatever numbers are shown with a decimal place before the last number. Now, if that leading number is 4 or less, you will put a 10 in front. If that leading number is 5 or more, you will put a 9 in front. So with the examples I have here, if it showed 410 as the code, you would decode that to 1041.0 millibars. The way that you get this is by adding a decimal place at the end of the number and putting a 10 in front of the 4. That's because 4 is sort of the break-off point. So if that leading number again is 4 or less, you put a 10 in front. Looking at the bottom example, since the leading number is an 8 in 872, you would put a 9 in front of it and a decimal place again at the end. So looking at an actual station model, you'll notice that it's going to be set up the same way every single time. So as soon as you get the hang of decoding a station model, you have pretty much mastered doing this skill. As long as you can remember what each piece of symbol means and where the numbers go, you can do this really easily. So let's break this down. Temperature will always be put in the top left corner. Dew point will always be put at the bottom left corner. So these two numbers will always tell you what the temperature and dew point or moisture level of the air is. The current weather will always be placed in between those two numbers. Now, if that is left blank, that means there is no current precipitation falling. The pressure will always be put in the top right corner. And sky cover, something we have not talked about, will always be where the dot is. Now, the sky cover is basically describing how much clouds there are, and the percentage of that circle that's filled in would be the percentage of the sky that is covered with clouds. Generally, it is either 0%, 25%, 50%, 75%, or 100% cloud cover. So let's practice this information all together. Here is a basic representation of a station model similar to the ones that you will see on today's assignment and future weather maps. You will be asked to decode stations like this and figure out the temperature, dew point, wind direction, and other data by looking at it. Remember, you will always have access to the symbols and where the information goes on assignments and tests or quizzes. So, in this case, I want you to try to decode this on your own and pause the video and see if you have the right answer. Let's go through the solution really quickly. Remember, temperature is always found in the top left corner, which in this case is 88 degrees. The dew point is always the bottom left corner, which in this case is 69 degrees. So now I know the temperature and moisture level of that air. The wind direction in this case is southeast because it's pointing from the south and a little bit to the east. The wind speed is 25 knots. 2 longs and 1 short would be 10 plus 10 plus 5. In this case, the pressure is 989.9 millibars. Since that leading number is 8, which is higher than 5, I put a 9 in front and put a decimal before the last number, so 989.9 millibars. Remember, 1013 is the magic number, so this is a low pressure situation. And lastly, the current weather in this case is thundersnow. I know it is thundersnow because it has the R symbol and a little snowflake on top of it. Yes, it can thunder when it snows. It is very rare, but it does happen. Now, decoding station models like this ends up being a very repetitive process. So use this information along with the keys that I've put in the assignment to finish the station models assignment. And if you have questions, please let me know. Thank you for watching the screencast.